Hey, it's Ryan here, talking tips and tricks specifically for presenting magic on video. I'm going to teach you how to make these. What are they? Good question. They are to help you bring your magic up off the table. Right now, the camera's showing my table, and I could, for example, have a card sitting on the table and you'd be able to see it, sure. But as I'm talking, it gets obscured and all that stuff. These help that. You can take the special card that they need to keep their eye on, and it sits right there for the entire performance. Or you have your prediction that is going to be revealed in the end, and instead of losing it or whatever, just clips right in there. And I'm going to teach you how to make these super simple. You know, my projects don't require advanced woodworking. This is perhaps the most in-depth I've gotten so far because you need a drill. So that's the extent of this project. Let's get into it. I'll show you what you need, the supplies you need to make these handy-dandy little camera magic stands. 1. Tools you require. Let me set those aside. Tools, you require a drill. You require some wood glue. You need a utility knife. And, oh yes, and you need a scrap piece of board. You can see there's a couple holes drilled in it already from making those ones. And the scrap prevents those holes from being in your table. So, scrap board is important. You need a bit of paper to catch glue, and then your supplies. So this is all dollar store or cheap craft store quality stuff, really easy stuff. You need a bag of wooden dowels, or you can buy a long one and just cut it down. So they're about magic wand length, but they're thinner than a magic wand. They're about pencil, even maybe slightly thinner than most pencils, which I thought was about the right size. So that's $1 or $1.25 or whatever it is. Second thing, popsicle sticks, sugar-free popsicle sticks. There's no sugar involved. Just the sticks. These are giant-sized ones because that's just all they had. You could use normal size, but actually these giant ones worked out pretty good. So again, craft sticks, very, very easy to find. Next thing is some like clothesline clips. These, again, are a little bit smaller, but normal standard size would work as well, just little spring clips. And the final piece is, they were labeled as wooden coasters. And again, these are craft supplies to paint and decorate and make your own. But it's basically a piece of plywood cut into a circle. This is going to be the sturdy base, so it could be truly anything that you can find that would be a base that would sit flat and not tip. So let's get to work. Step 1, drilling a hole in these. So you need to find a drill bit that is, boy, that's gone. You need to find a drill bit that is the same width approximately as the dowel. So I just simply line it up and say, yep, that's close enough. And go to town. So I need to drill a hole through the coaster. One thing, I'm going to try this. I did it just straight through the first round. I'm going to try and up my game a little bit here for the tutorial and use some masking tape. Because if you put masking tape over plywood before drilling, they say it protects it from splintering out the other end. So I'm going to try this little tip and see how well it works. So I'm just putting plywood on both sides so that when I drill through, it kind of holds the wood together and hopefully doesn't splinter as much. But let's find out. I'm kind of eyeballing the center of this thing. Doesn't have to be that exact. Let's try it out. And we have a hole going right through and it looks like it's splintered anyway, so I don't know what the tape accomplished. The great unveiling. Ooh, actually it is quite a bit better than the first round. Not perfect. There's a little bit of splintering on there, but still doesn't matter. At this, if you wanted, you could sand that down. I'm not even going to bother because it's one of those details that if you look close, yeah, maybe it's not great, but in show, you can't see that close anyway. So it's like the old magic shows, aka my magic show. It's basically made of duct tape and coat hanger wire. It doesn't look that good from the back. From the front, it looks okay. Not great, but okay. So that hole is going to be able to accept that dowel rod and make sure it fits in there. Otherwise, drill a different sized hole. So that's going to become our base. So what goes on the top of that thing? That's where the options come in. So option 1, which was my first idea, was just this clip. So it's just the clip gets attached on the end of the stick, and then you can clip things into it. So in order to do that, I need to create a flat portion of this stick. Again, if you have a rasp or sandpaper, you might be able to just flatten one side of that. But I used my utility knife. I'm going to kind of cut into the stick about halfway down, and then split it off the end. So I'm just sawing into it. Oh, if only they made a blade for sawing. This is going against the grain, which makes it a little tougher. Okay, so I've got just a little notch. I don't know if you can see that. Too small to see. Little tiny notch. And then I'm going to cut out to the end of the stick. And this will be an easier cut because it's going with the grain of the wood. This is my second time making this, so I'm pretty much an expert now. And then if you just pull that apart, gives you a flat side of your stick, and you'll be able to attach the clip on there. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit and get it as flat as I reasonably can. Makes it easier to glue. Yeah, it's pretty flat edge. So the clip then we'll be able to glue right onto that flat side and sit right on that lip of the stick and attach nicely. So let's glue it up. This is wood glue, kind of like white glue, but a little bit woodier. I don't know. Normally this stuff, they say it kind of takes about 30 minutes to set and then 24 hours to dry. But I'm not really worrying about any of that. I'm gonna give it about 15 seconds to set and then let it dry. Clip sits right in that flat spot and just gets pressed down into position. Make sure it's on straight. And that is that. It actually seated pretty well in there. So let that sit. Actually, you know what the easiest thing to do might be? Is to stick it in my little base here and let it dry that way. So it won't get bumped. Okay, part 2, or option 2. The downside of the clip is that it's a two-handed deal. So you have to hold your thing, you have to clip it in. So if you were holding, say, a deck of cards, you want to set the card in, you'd have to do this thing, and well, it depends on what you're holding. But anyway, I figured out a one-handed way to do this. And that is this one. I can just take a card and I can have my other hand doing whatever and be able to set a card in there. This is basically a little trough. See how, there we go, you can see right through it. It's a little trough, an easel stand kind of thing. You can set a thin thing in there and it'll stay up. You'll be able to hold coins, I bet. If I don't have any coins. I have an empty box with no coins in it. So what this is our popsicle sticks or craft sticks. And if you were to have 3 of those craft sticks, you set one offset or out jogged between the other 2. So just like that, you create that gap. So I glue those into that position and you have your little easel stand like so. And if you did it a full, again, these are jumbo size sticks, but if you did it with the whole bit, you could have enough room for 3 cards or even more if they were overlapped. You could have a whole poker hand on display. If you want to do matching card tricks, you could have a side-by-side easel. In this case, I just build a single one. So this time, what the heck, I'll build the full length easel. So just to recap for last time, I just used my utility knife. And I'll show you how easy it is to cut off a section of that. You don't even cut all the way through. You just press pretty hard to cut once, and then that thing will just pretty nicely snap right where you cut it. So you just score it, rip it, or break it, and cut 3 pieces the same length of whatever length you want. In this case, I'm just going to stick with the full-sized stick. I'm going to stick with the sticks as they are. I'm more pleased with myself than that joke warranted. Get out the glue. And with wood glue, generally you're supposed to apply glue to both surfaces, and usually you apply it to both surfaces, you spread it out, and then you stick together. I don't know what difference that honestly makes, but that's the way I was taught to do it. Thus, that's the way I'm teaching you. I have no idea why. I guess it lets the glue get tacky, but I'm not waiting that long anyway. I'm going to take those 2 pieces, and again, I'm looking to get them kind of halfway. And squeezing together. Normally with wood glue you would clamp things. I'm not doing that either. But if you want to be particular about this or make a deluxe version, you clamp it. Just put on the 3rd and final side here. A little bit of glue there. A little bit of glue there. Spread that out. Spread this one out. Now, I'm going to stick that on kind of the opposite of the first one, but here's a little tip. So if I line that up and it's in line with the other one, so it's perfectly even right down the center. Put it like that. So you can see, what I recommend is taking one of them and dropping it just a bit. So it's like, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch, a millimeter or two further down. So you can see the other one is a little bit higher up than the other. And what this does is instead of having to find that spot to stick it in, I can kind of come from the back and catch that lip and put it in. And I think that is going to make it just that much easier in order to drop that card in there without having to get it exact every time. So, for your consideration. All right, squeeze that all together. And again, if I had something heavy, I could maybe try clamping that down. The sticks have a natural bend to them, and this one's kind of wanting to come apart. So I might actually set my drill on it to let that tack. It's a multi-tool, that's what that is. The final thing is, like we did for the paper clip, you're going to flatten out a stick in order to stick that on. It's the exact same process, so I'm not going to repeat it. Now the last thing, which, that base is actually not glued, but it stayed on. The last thing is going to be gluing that base on. And it's getting less fancy as we go. I'm just kind of dolloping some glue in the hole there, putting a little bit around the edge. I'm kind of making sure I have lots of glue because my hole's not snug. It's a little bit larger than this dowel. I'm twisting it as I go in and making sure I'm on a flat surface so I don't have the stick poking too much through. This may end up gluing my paper to the bottom a little bit. I think these ones, these ones have little bits of paper. They got ripped off after it dried, but that's why, again, do it on paper, not on your table. Everything's okay. So I look at that from all angles to make sure it is straight enough. And let it dry for 30 minutes. Got yourself a nice set of prediction or card stands to use in your show. Lift your magic up off the table, keep things in view, keep it more visible, and keep it right by your lovely face. This is Ryan, Tips and Tricks for Magicians. I'll see you next time.